The escape pod hit the ground with a deafening crash, skidding across jagged rocks before coming to a halt. Smoke billowed out from its battered frame, curling into the thick, humid air of the alien planet. Inside, Mia Rodriguez groaned softly, her body shaken and bruised. Her vision blurred as she tried to focus on the cracked control panel above her head. The lights flickered weakly, casting eerie shadows in the small space. Mia's mind raced back to the moments before the crash. She remembered the chaos, the alarms blaring, the shouts of her crewmates, the flashes of weapons fire cutting through the darkness of space. Their ship had been ambushed by an unknown enemy, forcing them to abandon it in a desperate bid for survival. But when it came time to board the escape pods, no one stopped to help her. They left her behind without a second thought, slamming the hatch shut just as she reached them. She could still hear their voices fading away, cold and distant. Shaking off the memory, Maya forced herself to move. Every muscle screamed in protest as she unbuckled the restraints holding her down. Pain shot through her side where a shard of metal had pierced her suit during the crash. She gritted teeth and pressed a hand against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Slowly, she crawled toward the exit hatch, her movements clumsy and slow. With a hiss, the door slid open, revealing the strange world outside. The landscape stretched endlessly before her, barren yet hauntingly beautiful. Jagged cliffs loomed in the distance, their surfaces glowing faintly under the light of two moons hanging low in the sky. Strange plants dotted the ground, their leaves shimmering like liquid silver. A soft hum filled the air, almost musical, though Mia couldn't tell if it came from the wind or something else entirely. She took a shaky step forward but stumbled, falling onto her knees. The ground felt warm beneath her palms, pulsing gently as if alive. For a moment, she simply stayed there, staring at the dirt and fighting back tears. Fear clawed at her chest, threatening to overwhelm her. Was this how it would end? Alone, forgotten, on a hostile planet millions of miles from home. But then she heard it, a sound unlike anything she'd ever encountered. It was soft at first, like the rustling of leaves, but grew louder, closer. Turning her head, she saw movement in the shadows. A pair of glowing eyes peered at her from behind a cluster of those shimmering plants. Panic surged through her veins, and she scrambled backward, clutching a piece of broken metal from the pod as a makeshift weapon. The creature stepped into view, and Mia froze. It wasn't what she expected. Instead of a monstrous predator, it was small and bird-like, covered in iridescent feathers that shifted colors with every movement. Its beak opened slightly, letting out a series of chirps that sounded almost curious. Hesitant but desperate, Mia lowered the shard of metal and held out a trembling hand. To her surprise, the creature tilted its head, studying her carefully. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, it darted closer, nudging her injured side with its beak. She winced, but didn't pull away. Something wet dripped onto her wound, and she realized the creature was applying some kind of saliva to it. The pain began to ease almost immediately, and Mia let out a shaky breath. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The creature chirped again, hopping back to give her space. Despite everything, a tiny spark of hope ignited within her. Maybe she wasn't completely alone after all. Days turned into weeks, and Maya slowly adjusted to her new reality. With the help of the small bird-like creature she called Sky, she managed to survive in the harsh environment of the alien planet. Each morning, she woke up stiff and sore, her body still healing from the crash. But she pushed through the pain, determined not to give up. Sky became her constant companion. The creature followed her everywhere, chirping softly as if trying to communicate. It seemed to understand her needs, often leading her to sources of food or water. One day, it guided her to a cluster of berry-like fruits hanging from a tree with glowing blue leaves. Though hesitant at first, Mia decided to trust Sky and try one. The fruit was sweet and refreshing, giving her much-needed energy. From then on, she relied on Sky's instincts to find sustenance. Despite their bond, survival wasn't easy. The planet had its dangers. At night, Strange sounds echoed through the forest. Growls, screeches, and the occasional thud of something heavy moving in the distance. Mia built a makeshift shelter near a stream, using branches and vines to create walls that offered some protection. She kept a fire burning throughout the night, though the flames did little to calm her nerves when the noises grew louder. One evening, while gathering wood for the fire, Mia noticed tracks in the soft soil. They were large and clawed, unlike anything she'd seen before. Her heart raced as she realized they were fresh. Whatever made them was close. She hurried back to her shelter, clutching a thick stick as a weapon. Sky stayed by her side, fluffing its feathers and making low, warning chirps. That night, neither of them slept well. As time went on, Mia began exploring farther from her camp. She needed to learn more about the planet if she wanted to survive long-term. One afternoon, while climbing a rocky hill, she stumbled upon something unexpected: ruins. Ancient stone structures jutted out from the ground, covered in moss and tangled roots. Intricate carvings lined the walls, depicting scenes of beings who looked vaguely human, but with elongated limbs and wide, almond-shaped eyes. Mia ran her fingers over the carvings, marveling at their detail. They told a story, a civilization that thrived here long ago, only to vanish suddenly. In the center of the ruins stood a pedestal holding a strange device. It was shaped like a sphere, etched with symbols that glowed faintly. When Mia touched it, the sphere pulsed with light, emitting a low hum. Startled, she pulled her hand back, but the hum continued, growing stronger. Sky fluttered around nervously, chirping louder than usual. Though curious, Mia decided not to take the sphere with her. Something about it felt powerful, almost alive. Instead, she marked the location in her mind and returned to her shelter. Over the next few days, she couldn't stop thinking about the ruins and the mysterious object. What was its purpose? Who had left it behind? And why did it react to her touch? Her questions remained unanswered, but one thing became clear. She wasn't alone on this planet, not just because of Sky, but because of the ruins and the sphere. Someone, or something, had been here before her. The thought both excited and terrified her. If there were answers hidden in those ruins, she knew she had to find them. But every step forward came with risks, and Mia wondered how much longer she could endure the isolation and danger. Still, she pressed on, driven by a mix of hope and desperation. With Sky by her side, she clung to the belief that someday, somehow, she would escape this place. Until then, she focused on surviving, one day at a time. Mia's curiosity about the ruins grew stronger with each passing day. She couldn't shake the feeling that the glowing sphere held answers, answers that might help her leave the planet or at least understand why she was there. One morning, after a restless night filled with strange dreams of the carvings and symbols, she decided to return to the site. Sky chirped excitedly, as if sensing her determination, and fluttered ahead, guiding her through the dense forest. The journey wasn't easy. The path to the ruins was steep and uneven, and Mia still hadn't fully recovered from her injuries. Her side ached with every step, but she ignored the pain, focusing instead on the goal ahead. When they finally reached the ancient stone structures, the air felt different, thicker, charged with energy. The sphere sat undisturbed on its pedestal, glowing faintly as if waiting for her. This time, Mia approached it more carefully. She knelt beside the pedestal and studied the symbols etched into the sphere. They shifted and shimmered under her gaze, almost like they were alive. Tentatively, she placed her hand on the surface again. The hum returned instantly, louder this time, vibrating through her fingertips and up her arm. Images flashed in her mind, scenes of towering cities, advanced machines, and beings working together in harmony. But then the vision shifted. Fire rained from the sky, buildings crumbled, and screams echoed in her ears. She pulled her hand back, gasping for breath. "What does it mean?" she whispered to herself. Sky tilted its head, watching her intently, as if trying to offer comfort. Though shaken, Mia knew she had to keep going. She searched the ruins for clues, brushing away layers of moss and dirt to reveal more carvings. The pictures told a grim story. The planet's original inhabitants had created incredible technology, but their greed led to destruction. They mined their world until it could no longer sustain them, triggering disasters that wiped out their civilization. Mia shivered at the thought. Was this a warning? A message meant for anyone who stumbled upon the ruins? She didn't know, but the weight of the discovery pressed heavily on her chest. As she explored further, she found another object hidden beneath a pile of rubble, a small metallic box covered in the same shifting symbols. Unlike the sphere, it didn't glow or hum, but something about it felt important. Carefully, she tucked it into her bag, deciding to examine it later. By the time she returned to her shelter, exhaustion had set in. She collapsed onto the ground, clutching the box tightly. Sky settled beside her, chirping softly as if to remind her she wasn't alone. For a moment, she allowed herself to feel a flicker of hope. Maybe these artifacts could lead her to rescue, or at least give her a reason to keep fighting. But her optimism was short-lived. That night, as she drifted off to sleep, a loud crackling sound jolted her awake. Bright lights streaked across the sky, moving too fast to be natural. Maya scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding. Were they ships? If so, were they friendly or hostile? She grabbed the box and shook Sky awake, pointing toward the lights. "We need to hide," she said urgently, though she doubted the creature understood her words. They took cover behind a cluster of rocks, watching as the lights descended closer to the planet's surface. Whatever, or whoever, they belonged to, Mia knew one thing for certain. Her life was about to change again. Whether it would be for better or worse remained to be seen. The bright lights in the sky grew closer, casting an eerie glow over the alien landscape. Mia crouched behind the rocks with Sky nestled close to her chest, her breath shallow and uneven. The hum of engines filled the air, drowning out the usual nighttime sounds of the planet. She clutched the metallic box tightly, unsure whether it would help or harm her if the newcomers discovered her. A large ship descended slowly, its sleek design unlike anything Mia had ever seen. It hovered above the ground for a moment before touching down gently. A ramp extended from the side, and figures emerged, humans. Mia's heart leaped at the sight. For weeks she had been alone, and now finally, there were others like her. But her relief was quickly tempered by caution. Who were they? And why were they here? One man stepped forward, his tall frame commanding attention. He wore a dark uniform with insignias on the shoulders, marking him as someone important. His name tag read Bennett, and his sharp eyes scanned the area with purpose. Behind him, a team of people spread out, some carrying weapons while others held scanning devices. They seemed organized, professional, but Maya stayed hidden, watching silently. "Any signs of life?" Bennett asked, his voice calm yet firm. One of the crew members shook their head. "Nothing yet, sir. Just those ruins up ahead." Mia's stomach tightened. Ruins? Did they mean the ancient site she'd found? She glanced down at the glowing sphere tucked into her bag, then back at the group. If they were looking for the ruins and the artifacts inside, what would they do if they found her? Would they help her or see her as a threat? Sky chirped softly, breaking the silence. Mia froze, pressing a hand against the creature's feathers to quiet it. But it was too late. One of the crew members turned toward the rocks, pointing. "Over there." Movement. Mia hesitated for only a second before standing up slowly, raising her hands to show she wasn't armed. Her legs trembled as she stepped into view, blinking against the sudden brightness of spotlights trained on her. Bennett raised a hand to signal his team to hold their fire, studying her with narrowed eyes. "You're human," he said, his tone neutral. "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" "My name is Mia Rodriguez," she replied, her voice hoarse from disuse. "I was part of a research team. Our ship was attacked. I ended up here." She swallowed hard, glancing at the crew behind him. I've been stranded for weeks. Bennett's expression softened slightly, though suspicion lingered in his gaze. Stranded? Alone? Not exactly, Maya said, stepping aside to reveal Sky perched on her shoulder. The bird-like creature tilted its head, chirping curiously. Some of the crew members exchanged surprised looks, but Bennett remained focused on Mia. "We'll take you aboard," he said after a pause. "But we need to know everything you've encountered here. This planet isn't supposed to have intelligent life, or survivors." Relief washed over Mia, though doubt lingered in the corners of her mind. She nodded, following Bennett toward the ship. As she climbed the ramp, she couldn't shake the feeling that her discovery of the ruins and the artifacts might complicate things. For now, though, she chose to trust them. She didn't have much choice. On board, a woman introduced herself as Claire Dawson, the ship's medic. She guided Mia to a small room and began treating her injuries while asking gentle questions about her time on the planet. Claire's kindness helped ease some of Mia's tension, but when Jack Bennett entered the room later, his presence reminded her of the stakes. "What did you find out there?" he asked bluntly, sitting across from her. "You mentioned ruins. Anything else?" Mia hesitated, gripping the metallic box hidden in her bag. Should she tell him about the sphere? About the visions? She decided to keep those details to herself. For now. "Just old carvings," she said carefully. "They look like they belonged to whoever lived here before." Bennett studied her face, searching for lies. Finally, he nodded. "We'll investigate further. Get some rest. You're safe now." As he left the room, Mia exhaled deeply, leaning back against the wall. Safe. She wasn't sure she believed that yet, but for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to hope. Mia spent the next few days recovering aboard the ship, surrounded by people who seemed eager to help her. Claire Dawson visited often, checking her wounds and making sure she ate enough. Slowly, Mia's strength returned, though her trust in the crew remained cautious. She kept the metallic box hidden under her bed, unwilling to share its secret until she understood it better herself. Jack Bennett also came by frequently, asking questions about her time on the planet. He was polite but persistent, always steering the conversation back to the ruins and anything unusual she might have found. Maya answered carefully, giving vague responses that satisfied him without revealing too much. Over time, however, his sincerity began to break through her defenses. He spoke openly about his own struggles, how he had lost friends during missions, how the weight of leadership sometimes felt unbearable. His honesty made her feel less guarded, and she started opening up more. Sky became a favorite among the crew, especially after it saved a technician from an electrical shock by knocking him out of harm's way. The little creature's intelligence fascinated everyone, and soon it was hopping freely around the ship, chirping happily as people offered it snacks or stroked its iridescent feathers. Watching Sky win over the crew brought Mia comfort. It reminded her that even in the darkest places, kindness could still exist. Despite these moments of connection, tension lingered beneath the surface. One evening, while wandering the ship, Mia overheard a heated argument between Jack and another crew member named Ethan Cole, the ship's engineer. They stood near the cargo bay where the glowing sphere had been placed for study. "This thing is dangerous," Ethan insisted, pointing at the artifact. "It's destabilizing our systems every time we try to scan it. We should eject it and be done with it." "We can't just throw away something this valuable," Jack shot back, his voice firm. "If we figure out what it does, it could change everything. For Earth, for us. Or it could destroy us," Ethan countered. "You're letting corporate greed cloud your judgment." Mia froze, gripping the wall for support. Corporate greed. Was that why they were here? She thought back to the carvings in the ruins, the warnings about exploitation leading to destruction. Her stomach churned as realization dawned. The crew wasn't just rescuing her. They wanted what she'd found. When Jack noticed her standing there, his expression softened, but Maya turned away before he could speak. She retreated to her quarters, clutching the metallic box tightly. Doubt swirled in her mind. Could she trust them? What would happen if they discovered the second artifact? The next day, Mia decided to test Jack's intentions. She joined him in the observation deck, where he often went to think. The vast expanse of stars stretched out beyond the window, beautiful yet lonely. "I know you're hiding something," he said without looking at her, "and I understand why. But whatever it is, you need to tell me. The stakes are higher than you realize." Mia hesitated, then pulled the metallic box from her bag. "I found this near the ruins," she admitted. "I don't know what it does, but it feels important." Jack took the box carefully, examining it closely. His eyes widened as the symbols on its surface began to glow faintly. "This changes things," he murmured. Then, meeting her gaze, he added, "But not in the way you fear. I'm not here to exploit this planet, or you. I want to protect it." Though his words reassured her, Maya still felt uneasy. Trust didn't come easily, not after being abandoned by her own crewmates. Still, she nodded, deciding to give him, and herself, a chance. For now, she would stay silent about the visions the sphere had shown her. Some secrets were better kept hidden until the right moment arrived. Days passed, and the ship's atmosphere grew tense. The glowing sphere continued to cause problems, its energy pulses interfering with the ship's systems. Lights flickered unpredictably, and equipment malfunctioned without warning. Ethan Cole grew increasingly vocal about his concerns, urging Jack to dispose of the artifact before it caused irreparable damage. "We're playing with fire here," Ethan argued during one heated meeting in the control room. "This thing is tearing apart our systems. What happens if it shorts out the engines mid-flight? Or worse, what if it triggers some kind of explosion?" Jack stood firm, his jaw tight. "We can't abandon it," he said. "It's too important. If we figure out how it works, it could revolutionize everything. Energy production, communication, even medicine. Or it could destroy us." Ethan snapped, throwing up his hands. "You're letting corporate interests dictate your decisions. They don't care about safety. They just want profits." Mia listened from the doorway, her heart pounding. She had suspected that greed was driving parts of this mission, but hearing it confirmed made her sick to her stomach. The warnings from the ruins echoed in her mind. The planet's original inhabitants had perished because they exploited their resources recklessly. Was history repeating itself? The tension spilled over into the crew. Some sided with Ethan, whispering among themselves about mutiny if Jack didn't act soon. Others supported Jack, believing the risks were worth the potential rewards. Arguments broke out in the corridors, and the once cohesive team began to fracture. One night, unable to sleep, Mia wandered to the cargo bay where the sphere was stored. It sat on a pedestal, glowing faintly as it pulsed with energy. Sky perched nearby, watching it curiously. Mia stared at the artifact, torn between fear and fascination. She thought back to the visions she'd seen when she touched it. The thriving cities, the destruction, the screams. The sphere wasn't just an object. It was alive, almost sentient, and it seemed to be trying to tell her something. As she reached out hesitantly, Sky chirped sharply, flapping its wings as if to warn her away. But Mia couldn't stop herself. Her fingers brushed the surface, and instantly, images flooded her mind again. This time, she saw the faces of the crew arguing, their anger and desperation magnified. Then came a vision of the ship breaking apart, consumed by a blinding light. She gasped and pulled her hand back, stumbling backward. "What are you doing?" a voice demanded. Jack stood in the doorway, his expression unreadable. I wanted to understand it," Maya stammered. "It's not safe, Jack. You have to listen to me. Keeping it on board is dangerous." Jack sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I know there are risks," he admitted. "But I also know what losing this opportunity would mean. For Earth, for humanity. We need answers, Mia. Don't you see that?" She shook her head, frustration rising. "At what cost? Do you really think Earth will use this knowledge wisely? Or will they make the same mistakes as the people who built those ruins? Jack didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked closer, studying the sphere. Finally, he spoke softly. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're not ready. But giving up now feels like admitting defeat. Before Maya could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and the floor vibrated beneath their feet. Energy spike detected. A voice shouted over the intercom. All personnel evacuate the cargo bay immediately. Panic surged through Mia as she grabbed Sky and ran toward the exit. Jack stayed behind, attempting to stabilize the artifact. Sparks flew from the pedestal, and the sphere's glow intensified, filling the room with blinding light. Maya turned back, shouting for Jack to follow, but he ignored her, typing furiously at a console. With a deafening crack, the sphere exploded, sending a shockwave rippling through the ship. Maya shielded Sky with her body as debris rained down around them. When the chaos subsided, she looked back to see Jack lying unconscious amidst the wreckage, his face pale but breathing. As medics rushed in to help him, Mia felt a mix of relief and guilt. The sphere was gone, but the questions it raised lingered. Had they escaped disaster, or merely delayed it? After the explosion, the ship was in chaos. Systems were down, and the crew scrambled to repair the damage before it became critical. Jack lay unconscious in the medical bay, his injuries severe but not life-threatening. Claire worked tirelessly to stabilize him, her hands steady despite the stress. Maya stayed close, torn between guilt and gratitude. She knew the explosion wouldn't have happened if she hadn't touched the sphere, yet Jack had risked his life to protect everyone. The crew's mood shifted dramatically. Some blamed Mia for bringing the artifact aboard, whispering behind her back that she was bad luck. Others defended her, pointing out that she had survived weeks on a dangerous planet and deserved compassion, not blame. Sky seemed to sense her unease, chirping softly as it perched on her shoulder, offering silent support. When Jack finally woke up, he was weak but determined. He called a meeting in the control room, his voice calm but firm. "We nearly lost everything because of that sphere," he began, looking at each crew member in turn. "But we can't let fear dictate our actions. If we abandon this mission now, we fail, not just ourselves, but humanity." Mia stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. "Jack, maybe failing is better than risking destruction. That sphere showed me things. It warned me about what happens when greed takes over. The ruins told the same story. The people here destroyed themselves chasing power." Jack listened quietly, his expression thoughtful. Finally, he nodded. "You're right. I let ambition blind me. But we still have a chance to do this the right way. There's another piece of technology hinted at in those ruins. If we retrieve it carefully, we might find answers without repeating their mistakes." Mia hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. She agreed to return to the planet with Jack, Claire, and Sky to locate the second artifact. Ethan protested fiercely, arguing that they should leave immediately while the ship was still operational. But Jack insisted, promising to take full responsibility for the decision. Back on the planet, the group moved cautiously through the ruins. Using sketches Mia had made earlier, they found a hidden chamber beneath the pedestal where the sphere once sat. Inside was a crystalline device pulsing with soft light. Unlike the sphere, it didn't feel dangerous, more like a key waiting to unlock something greater. As Mia reached for it, the ground trembled violently. Rocks tumbled from above, and dust filled the air. Jack pushed her aside just as a large boulder crashed down where she'd been standing. Pain shot through his leg as he collapsed under the weight. "Jack!" Mia shouted, rushing to help him. With Claire's assistance, they managed to free him, but his leg was badly injured. He gritted his teeth against the pain, handing Mia the crystal. "Take it," he said firmly. "Get it back to the ship. Finish this." Tears welled in Mia's eyes as she nodded. She helped Claire carry Jack back to the surface, Sky flying ahead to guide them. By the time they reached the ship, Jack was pale and exhausted, but alive. As the crew prepared for departure, Maya looked back at the planet one last time, clutching the crystal tightly. For the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope, not just for herself, but for humanity. Maybe they could learn from the past instead of repeating it. And maybe, just maybe, redemption was still possible. The ship's engines roared to life as it ascended into the sky, leaving the alien planet behind. Maya stood at one of the observation windows, watching the glowing landscape shrink until it disappeared entirely. Sky perched on her shoulder, chirping softly, as if sensing her mixed emotions. She felt relief at escaping the dangers of the planet, but also a deep sense of loss. That world had become her home in many ways, and now she was leaving it behind. For good. Jack recovered slowly under Claire's care, his leg healing thanks to advanced medical technology. Though he remained weak, his spirit never faltered. He often visited Mia, apologizing for letting ambition cloud his judgment. "You were right," he admitted one evening. "I let greed guide me, just like those who destroyed that planet. I won't make that mistake again." Mia appreciated his honesty and began to trust him more fully. Together, they studied the crystalline device, trying to understand its purpose. Unlike the sphere, which had been volatile and unpredictable, the crystal seemed calm and steady. When Mia touched it, she saw visions, not of destruction this time, but of hope. She saw humans and aliens working together, sharing knowledge and building something new. It was a message, she realized, a way to prevent history from repeating itself. As the ship approached Earth's orbit, Mia made a decision. She couldn't go back to the life she'd left behind, a life filled with corporate greed and reckless ambition. Instead, she chose to return to the planet, to protect its secrets and honor the civilization that had once thrived there. The crew was surprised by her choice, but Jack understood. "You saved us," he told her before she disembarked. "Not just from the sphere, but from ourselves. If anyone can guard that planet, it's you." Claire gave her a communicator, promising to stay in touch. "If you ever need help, call us," she said warmly. "You're not alone anymore." With Sky by her side, Mia stepped onto the surface of the planet once again. This time, though, she wasn't afraid. She carried the crystal with her, determined to use its wisdom wisely. Over time, she rebuilt her shelter near the ruins, turning it into a sanctuary where she could study the artifacts and learn from them. Messages from the crew arrived occasionally, updating her on Earth's progress, or lack thereof. Some corporations still pushed for exploitation, but others listened to Jack's warnings, inspired by the lessons Mia had shared. Slowly, humanity began to change. Mia found peace in her new role as guardian of the planet. She tended to Sky, explored the ruins further, and even discovered other creatures like her companion, forming bonds with them. Though scars remained from her ordeal, both physical and emotional, she felt stronger than ever. One night, as she sat beneath the twin moons, Sky nestled close to her chest. Maya looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, people were learning to do better, to be better. And here, on this quiet planet, she had found her place. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was thriving. For the first time in a long while, Mia smiled. Her journey hadn't been easy, but it had led her exactly where she needed to be. Months passed, and Mia settled deeper into her life on the alien planet. Each day brought new discoveries, challenges, and moments of quiet reflection. The ruins became her sanctuary, their ancient carvings telling stories that felt more alive with every visit. She spent hours tracing the symbols with her fingers, piecing together fragments of the lost civilization's history. Sky stayed by her side, always watchful, always curious, as if sharing her mission to protect this world. One morning, while exploring a part of the ruin she hadn't visited before, Maya stumbled upon something unexpected: a hidden chamber beneath a collapsed wall. With Sky's help, she cleared away the debris and uncovered an entrance. Inside, the air was cool and still, filled with a faint hum similar to the one she'd heard from the glowing sphere. At the center of the chamber stood another pedestal, but this one held not an artifact, but a holographic projection. The image flickered to life as Mia approached, revealing a figure unlike any she'd seen in the carvings. It resembled the beings depicted in the ruins, tall, slender, with wide eyes. But its presence felt warm and welcoming. The figure spoke in a language Mia didn't understand, yet somehow she grasped its meaning. It was a message, not just for her, but for anyone who might find it. "You have chosen to stay," the voice said, soft and melodic, "to guard what remains. This is no small task. Our mistakes nearly destroyed us, and we left behind these records so others might learn. Use them wisely." Mia nodded, tears welling in her eyes. She felt a connection to the beings who had once thrived here, a shared responsibility to ensure their warnings were heeded. As the hologram faded, she noticed a small crystal embedded in the pedestal. It glowed faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Carefully, she removed it, sensing its importance. Back at her shelter, Mia studied the crystal alongside the one she'd brought from the ship. Together, they seemed to resonate, creating patterns of light that danced across the walls. These crystals weren't tools of destruction like the sphere. They were keys to understanding. They contained knowledge about sustainable energy, harmony with nature, and the dangers of unchecked ambition. Mia knew she couldn't keep this knowledge to herself forever, but she also understood it had to be shared carefully. Occasionally, messages came from Jack and Claire, updating her on Earth's progress. Some groups had begun adopting practices inspired by the lessons Mia had sent through the communicator. Renewable energy projects flourished, and debates about resource exploitation grew louder. Not everyone agreed, but change was happening. Slowly, imperfectly, but surely. Sky chirped excitedly one evening, drawing Mia's attention skyward. A single ship descended gently, its design familiar. It wasn't Jack's vessel this time, but a smaller craft carrying scientists eager to learn. Mia greeted them cautiously, explaining her role as guardian and showing them the crystals. The team listened intently, promising to use the knowledge responsibly. As the scientists departed weeks later, Mia felt a renewed sense of purpose. She was no longer alone in her mission. Others had joined her cause, spreading the lessons of the lost civilization far beyond this planet. Still, she chose to remain, knowing her work wasn't done. Under the twin moons, surrounded by glowing plants and the comforting presence of Sky, Mia found solace. She had started as a survivor, wounded and abandoned, but now she was something more, a protector, a teacher, a bridge between worlds. And though the scars of her past would always remain, they reminded her of how far she'd come. For the first time in her life, Mia felt truly whole.